let me just quickly say that when you have a mother tell you directly that she's in fear that she will never see her child again, and when the United Nations Human Rights Commission indicates to the Trump administration you're violating human rights, then you know that what we are saying today is, President Trump, cease and desist, because you are moving the arc of justice to the heap of despair and the trash heap of injustice.
Thank you very much.
Shame, Trump, shame!
You know,
Shame, Trump, shame!
It's a pretty grim sight to see really good, young, healthy-looking kids with so much fear, so much anxiety, so much wonder of what is next. They don't know where their parents are. They don't know what tomorrow's going to bring. They don't know if there's a future. And what has happened in this country is a deliberate decision by the President of the United States is to make it a crime for a mother and a father and a son and daughter to make a treacherous journey to knock on the door of freedom and be put in handcuffs. And that is what's happened. And after the parents are in handcuffs, their kids are taken away to parts unknown. That is appalling, and it is un-American.
David Cicilline from Rhode Island. I want to thank Senator Merkley for bringing us together. We just visited the processing center, and we're here to say loudly and clearly that our great country has had a wonderful tradition of welcoming people who are fleeing violence and persecution, and we do that through the asylum process. This new policy of the Trump administration, developed by the Trump administration, by the Attorney General of the United States, with the approval of the President of the United States, is undermining the founding values of this country, ripping children literally from the arms of their mothers in order to try to prevent people from coming to America. This is not what our country stands for. We are here today to bring attention to this, to call on the Trump administration to stop the zero tolerance policy, which makes zero sense. And we saw the fear in the eyes of these children who are wondering when they will see their parents ever again. It's a disgrace, it's shameful, and it's un-American.
Hi, I'm Mark Pocan from Wisconsin. I left the detention center with more questions than answers. When I asked how long someone would have access to their children, they couldn't give me a direct answer. When I said 15 minutes, they said maybe. I think I got the answer. When we asked people how long would someone be in the facility, they said no more than 72 hours. They tried for 12. I talked to someone for 2 days, someone for 4, someone for 5, someone for 7, and someone for 10 days who've been in there. So unfortunately, I leave with more questions and more concern that this policy is not working and it's disastrous to the families who are involved.
Thank you. Okay, we have a couple minutes. We can take a question or two.
Have you spoken with the president? Any of you spoken with the president, or any of you talked to members of the administration about this?
Several of us have spoken to. Several of us have spoken to the administration. Yes. I've spoken directly to Jeff Sessions about this policy. We hope that we can ask the president to come and speak with us to talk to him directly. So let's see if he's willing to meet with us. Who else? Yes, ma'am.
I spoke with Representative Gomer yesterday at the Texas GOP convention, and he told me that he knew that the kids were being treated really well, that they were getting better food, better education, and a better environment, safer environment than they had at home, and that it very may well be that more children come across in order to get a place in a detention center. What do you have to say to that?
Let's be very clear. The American Academy of Pediatricians have made it. They said this is irreparable harm when people are fleeing persecution abroad, when they go through the hurdles of arriving to the United States of America, when they come here and all they have is the fact that they are with their parent, holding their hand side by side with them, and then they are torn away from their parent. They lose all sense of security. This is deep trauma for children, a huge infliction on parents as well. There is no way that family separation policy is good for anyone. The administration says they want to do this as to send a message to families overseas about how you'll be treated if you come to the United States of America. Well, we used to have a message about how you'll be treated. It was called Lady Liberty, who held up a torch, who said, "Give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses yearning to breathe free." But now there is a new message from the Trump administration. And that new message is, you come here fleeing persecution, we will greet you on our shore, we will handcuff you, we will treat you as a criminal, we will take away your children, and you will never know when you might possibly see them again. This is absolutely un-American and wrong. We must end this policy of family separation.
All right, strong language, strong points of view after touring a detaining facility where children had been separated from their parents upon entry into the United States. You're hearing from lawmakers there who just completed the tour and their very terse descriptions. I want to bring back Kevin Madden and Maria Cardona. So, Kevin, hearing this kind of detailed description coming from these lawmakers and the challenge to this administration that this is inhumane, it's un-American. For how long can President Trump say his hands are tied here?
Well, look, I think this press conference and those statements by congressional Democrats are very they're not very likely to have an impact on the president. When he's attacked, he digs in, and I expect that's what he'll do in this instance. And he'll also, again, continue to try to shift the blame back, saying this is a Democrat-created problem. Now, Maria will agree with me that that is not the case. But I think where we're going to see any progress made here is when the optics of events like this down at the border, the optics of children being separated from their parents, or additional stories or anecdotes of children being separated from their parents, where that begins to have an impact on maybe some moderate congressional Republicans who then start to feel the heat in their districts to be the brokers of a compromise. That is likely where the White House will then start to feel pressure from many of those congressional Republicans, because everybody's up for re-election this year, and they don't want to be putting themselves at odds with some swing voters, moderate voters in their districts, because this is a potentially a very unpopular policy being promoted back home.
And descriptions, Maria, of children being separated from their parents, not for hours, but for days, upwards of 10 days. And to hear the one lawmaker talk about the Pediatric Association describing that there would be irreparable harm being caused on children separated after these long journeys, dangerous journeys. How does the Trump administration escape the dialogue about this kind of lack of compassion here?
They can't. And that's where I think that Democrats and I think moderate Republicans, we've already seen the evangelical community who has wholeheartedly supported Trump in everything he has done, going against him. Reverend Franklin Graham said that this is a disgraceful policy. You have so many now evangelical community leaders who are pushing Trump, saying this has to end. So to Kevin's point, and I think he's absolutely right about this, let me take off my hat as a mother. Let me take off my hat as an immigrant, because this breaks my heart. Let's look at this from a political standpoint. If you look at Connor Lamb's district in Pennsylvania, which Republicans should have won, and Connor Lamb was a Democrat and he won that, there are over 100 districts that are going to be up for re-election in November that are more progressive than Connor Lamb's district was. So let's think about these images and how they are going to play in all of these districts that have a lot of swing voters, that have a lot of Latino voters, that have a lot of immigrant voters who look at these images and say, this is not the country that we wanted to come here to, that essentially invited us here to live a better life, to which we are putting all of our efforts to do just that. And so I think that is going, to Kevin's point, that is going to be a big political push in terms of whether this president changes this or not. And if he doesn't, I think this is going to be incredibly perilous for Republicans in the midterm election.